Chief, drawn in 1835 in Sydney, has a new home in Dunedin. It's striking and memorable, but who is the young man in the painting?
There'll be all sorts of tifiri clues that we're really looking for to help us understand who the person might be.
He's immortalised, his features examined, debated, even bidded for in the art world, but his identity is unknown. New Zealand's very own Mona Lisa.
You get a sense of him as an individual, and I think that's part of the allure of the drawing, and it's why when you look at it, you want to know more about him.
Europeans would come and say, oh, I like that guy, and I like that guy, and then they do moko.
Edward Allison is a Ngāi Tahu historian. He's thrilled this painting by German-born artist Charles Rodius is returning home.
Reflects a young man, an active man. He looks noble. I think it looks a great impression of a young chief of that era.
His identity is a mystery, but there's speculation that the man in the painting is Ngāi Tahu chief Karetai.
It's the inscription on the work, so it's Chief Atai. All of the drawings of Maori by Rodius have the names phonetically. Karetai is because of the ate, karetai, the phonetic sound.
But Allison is not convinced.
It's very preliminary, in my view. I mean, to try and unearth and fathom who this person may be actually will require quite a bit of disciplined research and across a whole range of resources. Karetai was born at Otago. At that time, or shortly after that time of the painting, he became the paramount chief at Otago. He was active active across the tribe. I think he had 8 wives, quite a few children. He signed the treaty.
The painting depicts only one side of the chief's face, which is why some believe it's Karetai.
Because we cannot see the left side of his moko, he lost an eye and he had injury there as a result of one of his battles in the Marlborough Sounds with Te Raupara's men. I believe it was a gunshot wound. And so when he drew his moko post that event, he always drew it as it was. You couldn't see part of the moko because it had been blown away, so to speak.
It was so important to get the drawing because it's incredibly rare drawing. So it was drawn in 1835, which is very early for a work of this sort. There's nothing else like it, really, in another public collection in New Zealand.
Last year, the painting was purchased by Otago University's Hocken Library. It's at the Auckland Art Gallery, but will return to Dunedin this month.
The connections to this area were so strong, we really wanted to bring this drawing home. Towards the end of last year is when we heard that the drawing was coming up for sale. It was owned by somebody living in Australia who had inherited it through their family.
In a bidding war, the Rodius painting cost $158,000. Notman says it's worth every cent.
Rodius was a convict demeanour, but was also this trained artist. So it's quite an interesting fusion of things, this situation that he found himself in. Drawings of Māori are incredibly rare among Rodius's oeuvre. There is only a handful of sitters that he depicted of New Zealand Māori. Most of his other drawings were of Australian Aborigine kings and their wives. So towards the end of 1834 and during 1835, there were a group of Māori in Sydney, and somehow they met Rodius and he met them, and these wonderful drawings eventuated.
The thing is, the Otago Harbour, huge shipping activity going on there. It's in the 30s, 1830s, Otago was the second busiest port in New Zealand. They've done a wee bit of research in terms of some chiefs in their travel, and the fact that some of them were in Sydney at the time, that the artwork was done.
One of the main things will be perhaps investigating further in Australian archives, because Rodius never came to New Zealand, so there are no sort of records here, or few records here relating to the artist.
It's a bit like the moko that the papa have been retrieving from across the world. There's a lot of research has to go in to find out who these chiefs or these people may have been. It requires analysis, careful time to look at all sorts of information. We would, for example, want to try and assemble all the moko that we know of. One thing we'd need to do is gather photos of the next generation. And, you know, there's all sorts of things we have to do, and look for likenesses, perhaps. You know, I mean, I'm not wanting to go into speculation, but, you know, are there likenesses? Is there art?
The painting will join 17,000 other artworks in the Hocken Library. Artists like Colin McCann and Ralph Hotere are also in the collection.
We will work with Kaitahu to bring the drawing into the building and welcome Artai home and to provide a warm space for him.